Why would I ever want to inspect a brand new house?
Because no one has lived in it to test it out, right?
So one of the reasons that I really produced this for the buyers was my story before I was even in the industry. So it was the second house that I purchased, and the broker that I was using said, oh, hey, I'm a contractor, I can take a look at it, you're a homeowner as well, you don't really need the money, so let's go ahead and just crawl underneath. Hey, how do things look? Or hey, let's crawl up in the attic, how do things look? I'll look at some stuff for you too, and hey, everything will be fine. And so of course you think, again, that's the broker helps to guide you because they're the experts. And I said, okay, fine, sure. Hey, you're a contractor, so you know how to build things. You know how it should look when it's built. And I am always look at, now that I'm in, where is the boogeyman? Where will something jump out and bite you? And it actually happened to us. So we actually had a foster son come to be with us. And so we wanted to add a bedroom. And we thought, okay, this was really simple. We'll just add a bedroom to the front of the house. It actually had enough room. We could just come out. It would extend our living room. We would add, it was a little cute little 2-1. We'd come out and became a little 3-bedroom house. And so as they started to dig into it and start to add, they realized, oh, there was some concealed dry rot that was there in the home. They had actually taken a couple pieces of your 2x6s underneath, the joists, and covered everything that was there. And so they started digging and they kept finding. They started digging and kept finding. And the contractor then said, hey, is it okay if you move to the back of your house? Because we actually now have to take this down to 2 bare studs. We kept getting pushed farther back and back and back. We lost the bathroom. So now all of a sudden we have a blue john in the yard. And then, oh, we lost the kitchen. Okay, now, does anyone in your family have an RV? So we ended up in an RV in our backyard using the blue john, and our house was down to bare stud walls. And now that I know, it's like I would never, the stress, the trauma, here we have got a new foster son, and we're trying to manage all of this with a couple cats. How do we get all of now move into an RV on our yard? And I look at that is something that, like anytime I go to an inspection, I have that vision in my head. And there's no way I would ever want any of my buyers to go through that same thing.
Right.
And so even the thought of waiving inspection, we'll talk about that in a little bit, just the thought of waiving inspection is just like, we gotta know. And so that's why as we work with Sterling and seeing the process that Sterling does and how detailed Sterling is. So just friends, I'd like to introduce you to Lindsey Lundholm, and she is with Sterling Inspections. Again, a great inspection company. They offer some great warranties as well in the inspections and just some really neat things to help home buyers. And so I thought, hey, let's bring in one of the experts, why it's important to have a home inspection, what do we want to inspect, why are you in the business of inspections?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the business because we truly want people to love where they live. And we don't want that scary story to happen like you experienced. We want home buyers to be confident when they move into their house that they've had an inspection done and they know they have a snapshot of everything. So when we inspect, we're looking at the exterior of your home, the grounds, the foundation, we're going in the crawl space, we're going up on the roof, we're going in the attic, we're going into all the places most homeowners don't hang out in. And we are, have that expert eye and training to know what to look for. So contractors do know a lot, but they may not know all aspects of the home. And we also follow a standards of practice that we're required to look for certain things that your general contractor is not required by the same standards. So that's important. But then we go inside the house and we're looking at appliances and we're looking at the bathrooms and the plumbing and the HVAC. So all of the major systems in your home are checked. Are they functioning? So reporting for us is what our service is. We do the inspection, we provide this report, very detailed photos, everything that you need to know. It's going to have your big projects, if there are any, and your little to-do list, because every home comes with a to-do list. Every home has maintenance that has to be done to keep up on that home. Just like you do oil changes in your car, there's going to be things in your home that you want to do to maintain it, right? So we do both. We are giving you that maintenance list, and we're going to point out if there's anything significant. We would have seen the cover up of dry rot if we crawled in the crawl space, because we see things like that. We know when, you know, a house has been flipped and maybe it's not been flipped well.
Yes.
And,
you never see that, right?
Yeah, the lipstick on the pig is kind of the saying,
Yep.
right? So we've seen thousands of homes over 25 years, well into our 20,000th home that we've inspected, and we've just seen a lot of different things. And we're still seeing new things, right? There's always something new to discover, and we have to stay up on our own education, because as building requirements and new things come out, we want to be able to speak to those.
Right.
But an inspection gives you a snapshot of your whole home. So you could call in every specialty if you wanted, the roofer, the plumber, the HVAC, but what's cool about a home inspection is they know enough about all of those things to give you as a buyer, you know, the information like, hey, you're good, just this is what state it's in, or it's not functioning, or have this evaluated by the professional, because on your roof today we saw, you know, missing shingles and granule loss or whatever we found. We're going to point you then to go a little bit deeper.
Okay. What would you say are the big ticket items? So when you have an inspection, like, hey, if there's a knob that's loose on the cabinet, maybe not as a big deal, right? But
sure.
What would be considered kind of the big ticket items for the buyers?
Right. So the little cosmetic things, not really what we focus on, although they may stand out to you. Carpet color and paint, we don't look at that. We are looking at the major systems of the home, and there are items that have a higher ticket price. I would say that the number one thing that we find in every home has to do with moisture intrusion. So we live in Washington State.
Welcome to Washington. Yep.
And rain has, whether it's moisture from the outside or like plumbing on the inside, that's the number one most expensive item to repair. So that could look different. It could be a leak in your roof, and you've got, you know, evidence of that in your attic. We see what's happening with the roof most commonly underneath in the attic. We can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's one source of water. It could be a plumbing problem in your bathroom that we find. It could be rot that we see on the exterior of your home. So it all centers, it goes back to water. So that's the number one thing. It kind of feeds into a few different places. I would say that, you know, age of water heater, and is it going to go out soon? Well, that is a $2,500 replacement. That's still an expensive repair. It's not the most expensive repair we find, but appliances that need replaced can be a big ticket item for people. So we look at those, age and life expectancy, and I would say your sewer line. So as part of a home inspection, you know, the state standards don't require you to look at the sewer line, although that line is your responsibility as a homeowner. So we offer the service of sending a little camera down that sewer line. So it's what's carrying the sewage water out of your home to the city main, and you as a homeowner are responsible for the line out of your home clear till it connects. And if there's something going on, whether it's you have mature trees and so they're growing roots, and those roots find fertilizer in your sewer line. So we find blockages. It could be a broken line, gravel's found in there, just all kinds of things. We have lots of interesting videos to watch, I guess, because it is a little video of what we find. But it could be collapsed lines, it could be offset, so they're not connecting, even in new construction. So nobody's lived in the home, nobody's used the plumbing, and so you don't know if something's going on, and that's where we can find, hey, this actually isn't connected. We recently had a situation where it wasn't connected to the city main for some reason. It had been that way for some time. So seepage happening, right? You know, that's going to happen. Whether if new construction, no one's lived there, so you're not seeing the seepage, but this was somebody lived in the home. And you don't really know until it's a problem, right?
Right.
The line you can send water down the pipe, and it can back up and come and go until it backs up enough that's backing up into your own house,
Right.
to your tub, or wherever that might find itself. So I would say the sewer line's a big deal, and it's
Right.
what you don't see. So the buyer's not going to know without sending a camera down lines
Right.
underground.
You have to go that aside
Yeah.
out of mind.
So not only is it the pipe that you have to replace, often it's the yard that you have to dig up or the cement that it's under.
Oh, right.
So that's a
Yep.
pretty
Yep.
expensive.
When you flush, you don't want to see any of that again.
You don't.
So you said, let's talk a little bit more about the side sewer. So you talked about offset, because many might think it's a solid piece of black pipe.
Oh, right.
What's out there still? That why you'd say that there'd be an offset? I know
Yeah.
that there's a couple different types of materials that you find during the inspection.
Right,
During
right.
the sewer scope.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't want to find Orangeburg, which is an older material that's, deteriorating.
My house I
Yeah.
bought had Orangeburg.
Yeah, that's how it's going. And different connection points. I mean, one thing that you find when scoping too is where is it connecting? Like, do my neighbor connect into it? Just
We've seen those.
there's lots
right?
of there's lots of different connections happening. Was there a problem in the past and a little section of the pipe was replaced, and so you now have like new piping in this one section? So just are they is everything flowing well, or is there a literal offset in that pipe and it's getting caught up on something? Caught up over time, then it doesn't allow flushing to happen. So it's a fun topic to talk about. The toilet paper gets stuck in there. I mean, we have found lots of things in sewer lines.
Toy cars.
Going back to new construction, unfortunately, like the things that get sent down the drain, sometimes your subs aren't being thoughtful of the next homeowner, and so
Right.
they may send like things that should not be flushed down a toilet down there, and that's blocking water flow, and you would never know that.
They just drop it down the hole when
Yeah.
it's, but okay, yeah. Thinking it'll be gone forever and it won't.
Sure. And we've seen, like, I have 4 kids, and like they probably sent something down the toilet they didn't know about, so like toys, and I mean, we have found things like that as well.
Yeah.
And a little blockage doesn't present itself until there's been some time,
Right.
and it causes a big backup.
Yeah, roots get in there. Because I know, like, we've seen some of the older homes in Tacoma, you'll see that even the cement, they have the cement rounds that it just sits, and then the roots want to come in. And those can be jetted sometimes, too. Sometimes it isn't just replacement. You can actually just jet those. Is that what you see as well?
Most definitely. That's one of the things we'll recommend is it just looks like if you jet this line, you probably would be okay, but clear the line so that you aren't finding out about it because of a backup into your house.
Yeah, even I think the importance of new construction, because like we saw you found one where it actually had a little bow in the belly.
Yeah.
And so, water got to here, and then, which maybe be okay, but maybe not. But it can even catch that now while the yard's already torn up, or not even put in yet. You actually can, let's catch that now, let's get it fixed. So it's going.
There's a lot of things that can go. I mean, what you have is we now live in this, like, we have a sub for everything. So you have a special, so they're good at their training, we hope. But all those moving parts don't communicate with one another, right? You have a general who oversees it, and there should be measures taken to make sure everything was in line for the next person comes in, but it's not perfect. Right? It's construction. So one sub isn't thinking about the next step ahead always, and then the person ahead of them. So do things get, an example of this, just a small one, this is not sewer scopes, but it has to do with the attic. So whoever built the attic, and then a different person comes and puts insulation in the attic. Well, there had a case where we inspected, and there was a false wall. We don't put insulation over like the garage, but in lived spaces we would. And so they have a wall that separates those two spaces, and so sometimes we can't get in further. Like, we're going to go in the attic as far as we can go safely and traverse the trusses like we can, but if we can't get back there, that's tricky. And finding that, like, this section of the house wasn't insulated. Well, why not? I don't know. I wasn't the contractor.
They broke for lunch and didn't come back.
So things happen where things just get missed.
Yeah.
And so having that trained pair of eyes to look at all those parts is good.
That's good. Let's talk about that for a moment, about new construction. inspections, because some think it's a brand new house. What could go wrong? I get a warranty. I get usually the 1 year warranty that comes with it. So anything wrong, it's a brand new house. Why would I ever want to inspect a brand new house?
Because no one has lived in it to test it out, right? So speaking to those subs, they're coming and going, they're putting the house together, timelines, depends on when it was built, the weather, like you don't know the conditions in which that house was built, and then things are covered up by drywall. So some people will do that pre-drywall inspection, which we offer. And so before things are closed up, you've had someone kind of come in there and look at it that isn't like an interested party in the sale of the home or the building of the home. So not your general contractor, the superintendent. We don't inspect for code, but we're looking for, is it done right? Like, and is it functioning?
Yep, correct.
And so I think pre-drywall is a great opportunity for people to get that done before it's closed up. You then have the opportunity, okay, I'm going to move into my house. Now let's check everything. Have your inspector come do that part. And then you have a third opportunity before your warranty. So if you have a builder warranty, 11 months, come back, let us check. The house is settled, you have time to live in it. You've flushed toilets, you've used the systems, and you've gone around with your blue tape or whatever that you know of, and then let us also check. And then you have something to present to your builder, and the builder's not just relying on what you know, which may not be enough to have them warranty and actually fix and repair things, but an inspection report, that's enough to say, well, you need to take care of this before.
Hey folks, that's actually really a good idea. I think it's a really good takeaway to get that scheduled in, because I had a client that ended up with a leak, didn't know it, but we got under there and found it before the warranty. Just someone happened to crawl into there for whatever reason and caught this right before. So I think that's a good, hey, if you're in a brand new house, go ahead and let's do another quick run to see if you can find something while you are in warranty. That's another really good takeaway, I think, from here as well. So we had, the market, of course, sometimes has been crazy, sometimes it hasn't. We've gone through the times where everybody's hair is on fire and the houses are just flying off, and so to actually get your offer accepted, you need to waive inspection. What are the risks of waiving inspection?
Yeah, there was we have a lack of inventory in our industry right now, and people are really desperate to find a house, and so I feel bad for buyers that are challenged with finding a place and getting their offer accepted, and so they felt pressure, to get the house. I'm not going to get a house if I have an inspection. Like, that's kind of unfortunate in my mind. You don't get to do the due diligence that you should before we all talk about it being the biggest investment of your life, and it likely is for most people. And you want to invest well and know what you're buying and move in with confidence. But I know there have been times where that has been the case. I'm never a fan of that, right? That isn't wise. We've seen kind of the repercussions of that. I know of some serious things where literally water wasn't hooked up to a home and they bought, there's some crazy stuff out there. Right. I would say that's not the majority, but there are things that kind of happen that you're the guide that, your real estate agent, and you don't know some of those things. Yeah,
that's why I experienced it. And so when that was something that buyers wanted to do, it just makes my hair stand up on end. It's just
I think there's
scary.
Something you can do. So if you don't feel like you can do a full home inspection, although I think that you probably almost in all cases can. I know they were done. It just shouldn't be the first. If your agent's pushing that on you right away, not the first answer. I know there's ways to get around that. Pre-inspections is one way. So we're doing an inspection before we make an offer. So then we are waiving our inspection contingency or time frame, which makes it look like we didn't have, but we did have one. We got to do it before we made an offer.
Truly was a pre-inspection,
totally
not
covered.
a waive.
You're totally covered. Another example might be we just a shortened version, so we call it just the big stuff. We kind of cover 5 of the main components of the home.
Yeah.
Walk and talks is another thing, which is about an hour on site. We were doing a lot of those where our agents were using showing times to just get in there, get eyeballs on it, and then it's more of a verbal report.
Okay.
And I think provided a few photos, but it wasn't a full thing. So we could give them a little bit of like, hey, here's some of the big things and you should be good. We went in the crawl space and in the roof and some of the major parts. And then I would say the other option is for sellers to choose to do inspections. So pre-listing inspections. While I still think that it's smart for a buyer to get their own inspection, we're seeing a lot of homes going on market with an inspection as part of it. They did that before they went. It's a great idea for sellers, right? Hey, now I have my list of what I should take care of before I go to market, and it should eliminate some of those hurdles down the road, but also using it as a tool to show buyers that are potentially interested in that home. And I don't know how you like to advise in that situation, but we would still encourage buyers to get their own inspection. But if they can't, there's like, okay, this snapshot 6 months ago or 3 months ago or whenever they got it tells me, this information. And as long as you maybe research who did the inspection and feel satisfied with their credentials, then that might be an option too.
Yeah, sometimes it has to do with timing, but also like for me, I trust my peeps, and so like it's like, okay, I'll sleep better if I know you guys have been in, and you for my buyers, even though they have, or hey, let's look a little deeper, or bring in a specialist, right? So you've got the inspector that's kind of your general practitioner doctor, and then hey, maybe you need to go to the cardiologist, need to go to the specialists. So maybe bring in a specialist based on what you see in the report. That's what we sometimes have done. And good, it's interesting, even when everyone's hair was on fire for buying houses, when I worked with good brokers, like they know that, hey, it's important to have a home inspection. That was not a deal killer. That wasn't a factor. They said, hey, you know what? Especially first-time home buyers too that don't have the experience, it's just the right thing to do in real estate. Let's make sure everyone knows what it is that they're buying. In most cases, the seller didn't even know. I haven't crawled under my house in a long time, and I probably should. But that's where you find you find that little shower that's been leaking and you don't know it, or those other little boogeymen that hide down there.
We just found like in one part of our house it wasn't heating very well, and my husband's like, I better get down in the crawl space and check that out. And it just needed like reconnected down there so the air would be flowing properly. So it's a good idea to check it out.
If I give you guys a call, I'll have you guys to check on some things. So now there's other inspections. I know you offer some air quality inspections. What are some other ones, and when do you think that's a good time to add those?
Sure.
Into the mix?
I pointed out earlier that moisture was kind of our number one thing that we find here in Washington. So our air quality testing is one of those things that I recommend for if you have a concern. Maybe it's a concern because you have a health issue, newborns, pregnant women, anybody that has respiratory, like they're sensitive in that way. That's kind of your maybe more confident by knowing that we've taken an air sample. So we're taking a sample of the air in your home and we're doing it in the air outside. And we know like mold is like the 4-letter word in real estate or something, but it exists everywhere we are, right? And so is it too much of it in the condensed space? It's not good, or is it kind of the bad kind of mold? So we're doing an air sample. We're sending off to a lab where they have the doctor that's there, special microbiologist, like they have all the credentials and know what they're looking at. And so then they send a report saying this is exactly what we found, what levels it's at, and you can say, oh, this is normal. It's just as much as outside, or we have elevated levels in this home. So that's what an air quality testing is, and helpful for anybody that's concerned with a health issue, or maybe you see, I see evidence that there's water damage here.
Right.
We use our moisture meter on surfaces as well, and so like elevated moisture in this room, let's do an air quality test before we start ripping flooring up or whatever, and then we can say, oh, there's something possibly going on here. So that's one good test. If we see visible something, we can do a swab sample.
Oh, okay.
And then send that into the lab as well, and then you can say, oh no, it's just Washington and we've got mildew, and that's something we have to take care of, right?
Yeah,
So.
no, good airflow. You got to control water, keep the air flowing.
Yeah, air has to flow. I mean, that's it. We just had a big discussion with our team on that one. proper venting in a home is a big deal, right? We need air to move. You don't want your house so tight that there isn't movement of air. That creates that mold or that moist environment.
Right.
So in attics is even something that people might have us do that testing.
So really, you go from coverall to the white lab coat, like
Yeah.
the whole gamut of inspections. Well, that's interesting. You talked about the attic, and you don't know until it's tested. Microbial growth is, I think, the term you like to use, because you don't know, is it mold, is it something different, and what do you? I think what's interesting, what we find up there, is some of the sources, like how many times is the bathroom vent disconnected, how many, or just it falls, or someone puts on a new roof and they don't reconnect the bathroom vents, the kitchen vents as well. You guys, I'm sure, found plenty of that.
Well, and roofers have specifications that, just like any business, you need to vet your sources and know that they're a reliable source. And there's more experienced roofers than others and higher quality of work than others. So are they putting in the proper venting when a new roof is put on? Did we accidentally roll over that and forget to put in? So we're pointing that out when we do an inspection, what we can see, and we look for venting just because we know how important it is to have the right ratio of air movement in the house. It gets kind of like nitty gritty. I've sat through some fun roofing classes that I learned a lot, right? I can't say that I am a roofer, but those that know that craft, they know what they should, proper venting should look like.
Right. Yeah. Keep air moving.
Yep.
Right, that's the name of the game.
Especially if I think we have a lot of diverse people in this area, and so people that like to cook a lot, right? We're creating like this condensation in our house all the time.
Right.
So that can also create, challenges in your home. Keep the air moving, open the window, use your fans.
So the Food Network has caused issues, possibly. Creative chefs that are now pop-up restaurants. Okay. No, what can you tell me about Federal Pacific, the Zinsco panels? Let's go and talk about electrical, right? So usually we still see, and I know your inspectors kind of points out, hey, here's the Federal Pacific panels or stab locks, the Zinscos. From the inspector, what is that something that we have to talk about?
So speaking to those, they are, there has been ones that were, I think one has a recall, one is just known for challenges. So we want to look at electrical and is it going to work for you? We don't look at all of the electrical that's behind the wall, so the panels are returned, right? And we can look at there and see, do we have the proper, this is the part you're going to have to cut out, and I won't be able to speak super intelligent to. You know more about those than me.
Okay.
Like, I know that one of them, I'll have to ask, it's recalled and one is not, but often we steer away. We're like, it's not like you can.
My understanding is Federal Pacific is the Federal Pacifics that were the ones that were recalled.
Yeah.
And because the first time might be okay, but it wants to fuse together. That it'll heat up and then fuse open, and so then the second time it won't trip.
Michael speaks much more intelligently about this.
No worries, no worries.
Cut this part out.
We won't talk about Federal Pacific panels.
We can bring it up. It's just usually it's like one is recalled, one actually wasn't recalled, but we just say we identify what it is, and then we.
Yeah, usually it's Federal Pacific and Zinsco is what you guys always call out.
Yeah.
And usually sometimes you're even underpowered because there's so much draw needed in electricity nowadays.
Yes. That part I know about.
Yeah, it's just you pull so much, and like I say, don't cook toast in the tub. Is that?
We can talk about electrical panels if you want to talk in general terms. I can talk about that.
Let's talk
you
about.
Point out what you know about.
Okay. Of course, one of the major systems is. Pause here for editing. One of the major systems, of course, is electrical. Right. So we talked about roof. And plumbing, we'll talk a little bit more about plumbing, but I think, so we talked about roof, let's now talk about electrical. So what are some things to look at when you're looking at electrical panels?
Good
and electricity in general?
Right, so we check out the panel and we see if you have the right amps pulling from the electrical system in your home. We use electricity differently now than we maybe did 40 years ago. So if we have outdated panels, then we might not have the right power fueling the house. So when I say we use it differently, meaning like we have computers and cell phones and all of these devices that are also drawing on our electrical. Yeah, all over the place. That's the most common thing that we talk about is I'm buying a little bit older home. Do I have to update my electrical? Well, no, you don't have to. You can keep it this way, but it may be a challenge when you're wanting to run all these new devices. We will point out, like, if you have a recalled panel of sorts, that you want to be aware of that. People talk about the knob and tube, that kind of thing, and they get scared about it. Well, it hasn't blown up yet, right? Like, we're not telling you go run out and change it. Just be aware that it's older and there could be challenges that way. There have been times where things have happened. So we pointed out, we don't want to scare you, but just know that it either won't serve your needs if it's not up to modern day, electrical codes. Just be aware of that.
Yeah, because I've seen with some of my customers, there was still knob and tube, is that it's hard to get insurance even now. That's what we're seeing as a big challenge. Even though some knob and tube is beautiful, the other side of it is, I think, the ground, having a grounded circuit.
Right.
And just because you've got 3-prong plug doesn't mean it's grounded. Right. Sometimes they'll swap it out. You guys have probably seen that.
We check for that grounding for sure.
Yes, that's really a big deal.
Safety's a thing.
Yeah. I know you're talking about some of the panels on a recall. I know inspectors have talked about the Federal Pacific panels, the Zinsco, some of those things that they have caused problems in the past for some and to be a concern. I usually bring that up to my sellers if we see those still.
Right.
This is something that the inspector will talk about. It might be worth switching it. Usually we get swapped out. Just, electricity is a big deal. It's one of those, we want to make sure it's safe for the family and handle the electrical load that we put on it. So, because we talked about the roof, we talked about electrical, we talked about plumbing. So, we've seen where pressure's low, we see galvanized and PEX and copper, and what have you run into when it comes to some concerns on plumbing?
All of those exist in homes still, right? Like, we've come across all different kinds of plumbing, and so we're going to point out, is this an older style? Is this currently what we're using in plumbing? No, but it's still working. So you may choose to upgrade if you want to, but if it's functioning as is, we're just going to let you know, here's the type of plumbing that you have, whether it's the copper or we've moved, to more of our modern technology, that you can move your house with that if you want to, but obviously that's your investment and you may want to do that in the future. But it might not be failing today. It might not be a problem today. So you try not to make it sound like it's the end of the world if you have older systems, because there's beautiful older homes that haven't yet been updated and they're still working today. So just know that there is a lifespan with everything. So we think of the whole house as a whole, that around 25 years, you've seen the life cycle of a home. That means plumbing too. That means all the systems. And either it's time for an upgrade or it's possible it's going to fail. So every 25 years, so think about how old that house is. How many life cycles has it seen? That puts some concern in your hands as the buyer. Like, okay, well, is this something I've budgeted for? I'm okay buying something that needs fixed up, or I'm okay replacing in the next couple of years, because we can give you we think it will last this long, or we have seen this, but then tomorrow it could fail, and you just never know.
Yeah. Well, like my house is kind of that mix, and I've got some galvanized, and I actually have some of when they did a little addition, they put that CPVC.
Okay.
That it's everyone always says it's not if it's going to fail, it's when. So make sure you got some spare parts in the garage ready just in case. But in talking to my plumber as well, like if you ever you flush the toilet or someone else turns the faucet on and you hear a scream in the other that from dad, and all of a sudden, hey, the water's cold, right, is the supply issue. And that's like what I've learned too is, okay, I probably have a smaller supply lines, and so you can't run showers and dishwashers and everything all at the same time.
Right, that's a good point. We've advanced in our pipe size has grown so that we
Yep,
have that
yep.
more capacity to run more our washers that are in our house and our, whatever,
Yeah.
dishwashers and washing machines.
Yes, that's what I appreciate about the inspections. Is the pressure good? Like, hey, if you like a good, strong shower, is there enough pressure there, even in an older home? What is, the kitchen sink, how does that look? So I know that's some new stuff I kind of checked as well, that you guys do a nice job for. So
Thank you.
I think some of the takeaways is, hey, we want to look for the big stuff, right? So the roof, electrical, plumbing, sewer line, is that all in good shape? Things usually go well until maybe you go into the attic and see what's going on, or even into the crawl space and see what's going on.
Yeah. Just kind of that envelope of your home, right? That's what that shield of protection, rooftop and down, especially living where there is rain. We don't have a lot of crazy other weather here, fortunately. So
yeah,
not tons of freezing, although we do get a freeze a time or two, and then that causes trouble for people. I think having like a solid roof, siding that's going to protect the outside of your home, those are some of the most important things. And then crawl space, right? We get water in there. We're always checking for making sure the vapor barrier's put
Yep.
down.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we're not inviting rodents underneath. So like we encourage, there has to be venting, but that you have those screens on your vents. So like little things, that's not a big thing, but it could cause, do we have like a family of rodents living down, in space, and they're chewing away at the stuff that's in there. And then water, it's just like, is there standing water in the crawl space? That's a thing to be concerned about. So the grade of our property, like is it water running away from our home, not towards our home? So
yeah, really
that's
good.
kind of definitely something you have to look at. I advise the home inspection, but if you don't get a full home inspection, you're looking at the envelope of your house. Do you know that those things are solid?
Oh, that's good. That's good. So how a buyer really, once the inspection's there, to figure out what's really important, what isn't? Like, how would you advise those of, here's something I really need to worry about, here's something I maybe not to worry about as much? How do you balance that out?
Well, one thing that our team does with every buyer that shows up to the inspection or requests like a Zoom review, we always do an on-site review. So we do this really detailed inspection, and then we give you this report that's a lot to read through. So to help out, we go through and we do a picture review. We're going to point out what we found today, show a little screen show, photos, and we're going to point out what we feel like is, what we know are big ticket items. So hey, here's some big ticket items that might be a good negotiation tool. It might be a deal breaker for you because you don't have the budget to fix it. Right. You have to make that decision, and your real estate agent comes into play here, right? They're your advisor and they're your guide. So it's why having someone who's experienced,
definitely, and
not just your neighbor got their license or whatever the story is. I'm all for people starting out, but the experience matters because you have experience guiding somebody through the process, knowing, hey, these are things we have to pay attention to. So there's going to be some advice from your agent and your inspector. When we do our review, we're going to say, hey, here's some things that you just need to put on the back burner. Like, these are things to take care of sometime down the road, your to-do list, your maintenance list. And we don't make a big deal of those. We say there are things to be taken care of when you moved into the house, make a plan. And then there's hey, these need addressed pretty quickly. We're going to encourage everyone to take care of those things, before closing if possible, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's like, no, we're not negotiating that in. And that's where an agent comes in and says, here's where we can do that this time, or where you need to be okay, replacing the roof in 5 years. I think that we both have to wear that hat of guide a little bit, but we're going to do it in that review with the client. So that's a big deal for someone who's maybe never bought a home or maybe knows very little about construction or how things work. Yep. So we try to walk people through that in our inspection, not just give them the report and say good luck.
Yeah, no, that's important. And I always appreciated over the many years now, I'm there at the inspection and learn, all right, what are you looking for? And now when I'm, even before you get there, I kind of play a game with myself of, hey, can I find what the inspector will find? And so while the buyers are looking and, hey, will this work for the family, and is it the right fit? I'm kind of looking at some other things of, okay, what will probably the inspector call out? And I can advise my clients ahead of time, hey, we won't be surprised. Here's some things that I noticed, and that's just learning from you when I'm there and watching you go through. Okay, here. So kind of ahead of time, we know.
Yeah, so wise,
right?
And
not, so we all hate surprises. Real estate you can have those, and we don't want the least amount of surprises as possible. Definitely in, like I say, the envelope, the quality of the house.
Yeah, I mean, it can be stressful. It can be emotional for buyers. Like, they're really excited and they're really hoping to find the thing that's right for them, and they want to move in with their family. And so there's a lot of emotions. If we try to pretend like there aren't emotions, that's not real. We're humans.
We want emotions.
We
want
have emotions.
Fun. We want happy.
Yeah,
we
don't
want
it to
sorrow.
be good, but
yeah.
But we also have that little concern, like, oh, that's the confidence that comes in. When we get our home inspection, we can be more confident moving into our house, knowing, like, here's our list of little projects to work on over time. Here's maybe something more immediate that we need to be aware of and budget for. And having agents that tune into that, like, that's, I would say, not as common. Like, seasoned, really good agents know these things.
Yeah.
And so they have to be looking for you that know what you're talking about and know that it's important to walk the client through these steps of, you want to get in the house, but actually owning a home is a big responsibility. And so, are they ready? Is this the right house? So you're helping guide them to the home, right?
Yes.
You hear their needs and their wants and whatever they hope to have, and their budget. And then, hey, we found something. And I know it can be discouraging, like, oh, the home inspector found something. But what we see on the other end is those buyers' reviews later that are really glad that, hey, I'm glad you pointed this out. That was more than we could bite off. Or we're so glad to know that. We're cool. Let's move in and we'll just take care of it. So it just helps them make that decision a solid one, right? There aren't those question marks like, am I going to have the surprise when I move in down the road?
Right.
That because I didn't have the inspection. So.
Yeah, and we had some where we have to walk away. Like, the house there's just way too much going on, and it's not in the wheelhouse of the buyer to deal with that. And so, hey, when you guys say walk away, we have to walk away. And it breaks your heart that we think that this is perfect, but boy, down the road it isn't, because it's the old, the movie Money Pit. The young ones probably never seen that one, but just, again, I experienced it, and I just remember this huge mound of dirt in the front yard, and my house down to just bare studs because it didn't happen. And we've been into houses and found houses where it's the exact same thing was like that. And it's like, I would never want anyone to go through that crazy experience that that I did.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever experienced something like that, I might tell you maybe you haven't worked with enough people yet, right?
Yeah.
So you've experienced that personally, but you've
Yes.
also worked with plenty of buyers who you're putting their needs before your own. So, like, that says a lot about you and the kind of business that you run.
Yeah, we've been in thousands of houses, and we've done this, thousands of inspections, and just you learn a lot of what to look for and what makes sense. Sometimes I'll get the question from buyers of, hey, isn't the appraisal an inspection? How I answer that? What how do you answer that?
You better share. We look at different things. Some of them are the same. An appraiser is assessing value of a home. We're not assessing value. We're looking at function and is it all working. Your appraiser is not testing every system in the home. He may or may not walk on the roof. I don't know that I've seen many walk on the roof at all.
Not too much anymore.
I don't know that I've seen any crawl in the crawl space, actually.
No, they just peek their head. Yep.
Yeah. So their job is to assess value for funding, right?
Correct. Yep.
I don't think their job really goes beyond that.
It isn't.
And so our job is not anything about funding. We're looking at, is this house functioning? Is it safe? Is it sound? Like, we're just looking at the home for you as a buyer, we're not looking at it for compare against other comps or whatever, you know,
Right.
it's happening in the
Yep.
appraisal world.
Yeah, so appraisers, what I've found, so appraisers, like if it's an FHA or VA loan, the lender will have what's called an overlay, where hey, you look at the value, but they have to, they peek into the attic, is it insulated? They'll peek underneath, is the vapor barrier there?
Sure.
Is there some chipping paint there on the structure or on the garage or something of those? Does the roof look like it has 5 years? Can't have moss on it. Those types of things are. The appraiser will also look for other straps on the water heater. Does it have carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors? And we get experienced brokers when we go in and we know, all right, here's some things that appraisers will look for, and you as inspectors look and find the same thing. So we already know ahead of time, even before the appraiser steps in, oh, okay, here's some things we know, those what's called the overlays. And it's just a few things that they look at. They're not inspecting, it's more of looking at and checking on FHA and VA type loans. So again, you guys have already called it out because you all looking at the same thing. So we see that ahead of time too. Oh, okay, this will come into question. Let's get that fixed now. That'll save a step. Oh man, they missed a carbon monoxide detector, downstairs in the basement. You have to have one down there, and it'll be called out. That'll cause more time because the appraiser has to have a picture of it.
Right.
And which means he can't finish their appraisal. They have to go take a picture of it and come back. So that can actually burn up a few days. And so if you're running a tight timeline, you can get in trouble. So again, just the experience we've seen. All right, how do we front load it, find the boogeyman ahead of time, and less stress, more peace. So
that's the goal.
Yeah. So if you were just asked the question, why is a home inspection important? What's kind of the summation of all things being said?
I think it just goes back to that, where do you want to bring your family at the end of the day? Like for me, home is super important. I'm sure we have that in common, right? We're in
Yes.
industries where we're bringing people to it's their home. It's where they bring their families at the end of the day. It's where you rest after a long work day. And so you want to feel safe and happy, and it's where memories are made in that place. And you don't want all the headaches of oh, I've got a leaky roof. And I mean, you can have a long laundry list of things to take care of in your home. And a home inspection is just one step in making sure that when you're buying a house, or if you're living in a home and you want to know, hey, what do I have going on? I can have confidence that, hey, I'm moving into a safe place. Number one, it's safe. Right? It's safe for my family, it's safe for me and my pets, or whatever your family looks like, that it's a safe place to be. So I think the safety is a big deal. And then second, it would be, I've got to plan and take care of this investment, right? I'm spending a lot of money over time. It's smart to invest your money in real estate, I believe, and having your own home. And so am I making a good investment is kind of the second thing. So it's that confidence factor that, hey, this has got good bones, right?
Yep.
We're looking at the bones of the house. We aren't checking out the paint, or maybe there's wallpaper you want to remove or carpet you don't like. You can change that over time. But we're going to look at those things that really matter as far as your investment goes, and budgeting for upgrades can come later, or big repairs that will have to happen in time.
Yeah.
I just think safety and confidence for people, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You've got a lot of worries in this world.
Yes.
And we want somewhere safe to go back to, and that can be your home.
I always say you want to be able to sleep at night. And when you're laying in bed, you don't want to think, oh, okay, what's going on in the attic? Or what was that noise?
Sure.
Coming through. And I know from when I find the perfect house for my buyers, it's really exciting because I know, all right, this is going to be an amazing place. It's a great match. Again, it's going to be a great investment. And to make sure we know it's a great investment for the long term, that's why we get that inspection. Because we know, okay, I can sleep at night because I know it's a good product. You can too, because they know exactly what it is that they're buying. It's like trying on that suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know it fits, it's good, and it's going to last you. and you learn how to take care of it, especially for the first time home buyer. Oh, I didn't think I needed to do those things, and have that report that says, oh, okay, well, what was that we needed? What is the summer project here that we need to do? And you guys have a great follow-up of just different maintenance things that you do as well. So let's talk about home warranties, because I know your company provides different home warranties as well. Why do you feel that could be important to have a home warranty?
Well, I mean, when you move into a house, we do the inspection, we tell you what it's like today. It's kind of a snapshot in time, but we know that it gets lived in, right? So when we change occupancy, go from 2 people that live in the house to a house of 6, or whatever the change is, the way that family lives is different. So things can break, things can go wrong, whatever. Just part of owning a home is there will be maintenance.
Yes.
It's like owning the car that, oh, I got a flat tire today that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yep. Right.
So sometimes people have things for their cars. That's an analogy most people understand, so we use it. But a home warranty can be similar in that something broke today that wasn't broken before, and my warranty may provide some coverage for that. So that's why I think a home warranty can be helpful, in that you pay a little fee for this warranty that's going to protect you. Generally, it's like a year, right?
Yeah.
You might be able to extend that. Our warranty we offer when you get a home inspection, because they know what they're assuming, right? We've done the inspection. We extend that warranty 6 more months, so it's 18 months for the price
that's good.
of 12.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah. Covering, maybe your garage door breaks, and certain warranties cover different things. You just have to look at what your warranty offers. The one that we offer tends to cover a bit more than some home warranties, but just different parts of the house, right? There's so many moving parts, right? We've got many systems, appliances, all different systems, and you have to have a way to pay and fix things when they break, and a warranty is one method to kind of help protect the buyer. Like, well, maybe I don't have that stash of cash quite yet to replace, the unexpected, but a warranty could step in and help.
The water heater is probably my favorite one to think, because that can happen to me because water heaters, they work and then they don't.
Yeah.
Like, there's rarely is there a warning, unless maybe you see it leaking, and but in most cases all of a sudden it does and then it doesn't. And I have called them out and got it fixed. And, good to go. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that it was nice that I had a warranty when I first came in. It just happened that we thought everything was fine and then it wasn't. And welcome to home ownership.
There you go. I know, it's breaking you in.
Yep. So is there anything else that you think we maybe missed in the what about of course we have houses out in the country, beautiful spot, and they have a septic tank. Now the tanks are required to get pumped and inspected by the certified companies. That's their specialty. And send the report into the county, and the county comes out and takes a look at it as well. So does that mean they probably don't need to worry about the sewer line?
That's a lot of people's understanding, but that's not true. So you still have a sewer line that takes your sewage, whether it's being dropped in the septic or to a city situation, you're responsible for that line. So a septic company pumps the tank and inspects the tank itself, but they don't inspect outside of that tank. So the connection to your sewer line is not inspected, and the sewer line itself is not inspected by the septic people. So we often do inspections on sewer lines leading to septic, just so you know that line is good.
Okay.
Often they're shorter lines, but not always. But it's still, if it's 5 feet, 10 feet, that's still your line of sewer to take care of. So knowing that connection is important, and then where it connects, where anything connects, there can be challenges, right?
Right.
I mean, you got that. Can the roots get in there? Did something break? Do we have gravel back up on that? When
seal wears out.
When they were pumping it, did something happen? So we like to look at sewer lines as well. Yeah, leading to septics.
And I'd probably say even be able to find where it is, because sometimes you see these little systems.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the benefit is you can plant a flag of here's the connection, here's where the tank starts.
Right.
because we've seen that where we have no idea. There's no indication where the tank is.
Yeah, so we find the clean out to send our little camera through. If there's not a clean out on your property, we always recommend having one, but like we have to go on the stack in the roof, or sometimes worse, like last case, we pull a toilet. But we're gonna send the camera down, and then we can use our locator to let you know exactly where it's at.
That is a great feature to have. So Lindsey, thank you for taking the time here to talk about the importance of a home inspection, and hopefully you'll be able to help some buyers to understand the process a little bit more, because there's so much to try to figure out with buyers, and there's a lot of information to take in. And so that's why I thought it was important. Let's go to the source. Let's talk to inspectors and find out what it is that buyers need to know. So again, thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Steve.